1151.
51.
Okay, and our last head word was toss. Full
Toss.
stage revision.
Okay, toss.
Okay, so let's start with our revision. Let me just toss. Okay, here we go. First question.
Okay, yeah.
Give me a sentence with the word thereby. Give me a sentence with the word thereby, please.
Thereby,
He didn't know how to
he didn't
answer,
know how to answer,
thereby making it
thereby
appear
making it appear
that he was guilty.
that he was guilty.
Very good. When someone becomes famous, why do the press often try to find out whether they have a skeleton in the cupboard? When someone becomes famous, why do the press often try to find out whether they have a skeleton in the cupboard? When someone
When
becomes
someone
famous,
becomes
the
famous,
press often
the press
try to
often
find
try
out
to
whether
find out
they
whether
have a
they
skeleton
have
in
a
the cupboard
skeleton in the
because
cupboard
the public
because
love
the
to
public
hear
love to hear
about famous
about the
people's secret.
famous people's secret.
Very good. If a case of negligent driving result in a pedestrian's death, does the crime in your view merit imprisonment? If a case of negligent driving result in a pedestrian's death, does the crime in your view merit imprisonment? Yes or no?
Yes,
If a case
if a
of
case
negligent
of
driving
negligent driving
result in a
results
pedestrian's
in a
death,
pedestrian's death,
in my view,
in my
the
view,
crime
the
merits
crime
imprisonment.
merits imprisonment.
Very good. What do we mean if we say that two countries are allies in a war? What do we mean if we say that two countries are allies in a war? If we say
If
that
we
two
say that
countries
two
are
countries
allies in a
are
war,
allies in a
we
war,
mean
we
they
mean
fight
they
alongside
fight
each other
alongside each other
against a common enemy.
against a common enemy.
Very good. When you get home, do you normally just dump your jacket on a chair rather than hang it up? When you get home, do you normally just dump your jacket on a chair rather than hang it up? Yes or no?
No.
When I get home,
When I get
I don't
home, I
normally
don't
just dump
normally
my
to
jacket on a
dump
chair.
my jacket on a chair.
I always hang it
I
up.
always hang it up.
Very good. What do we have to do if we want to get rid of a large household item, such as an old bed or mattress? What
Mattress.
do we have to do if we want to get rid of a large household item,
Household
such as an old
items,
bed or
such as an
mattress?
old bed or
If
mattress.
we want to get
If we
rid
want
of
to
a
get rid
large
of a
household
large
item,
household
such
items,
as an old
such
bed
as an old bed,
or mattress,
sorry,
or
old bed,
old bed or mattress,
old bed or
we
mattress,
have to take it
we have
to
to
our
take it
local dump.
to our local dump.
Very good. One more. If we
Okay.
want to get
If
rid
we want to
of
get
a
rid
large
of
household
large
item,
household items,
such as an old
such
bed
as the old bed
or mattress,
or
we
mattress,
have to take it
we have
to
to
our
take it
local
to
dump.
our local dump.
Very good. What do we mean if we say that something is bound to happen? What do we mean if we say that something is bound to
Something bound
happen?
to happen.
If we
If,
say that
if we
something
say that
is
something
bound to
is
happen,
bound to
we
happen,
mean that
we mean
as a
that
result
as a
of
result
previous
of a
experience
previous
or
experience
particular
or
knowledge
particular
that
knowledge
we have,
that
we
we have,
presume
we
that it
presume
will happen.
that it will happen.
We could give me an example. Give me an example, please. Is bound to arrive
He's bound to
in a
arrive
minute.
in a
He's
minute.
never been late before.
He's never been late before.
Very good. Why do large organizations need a department to deal solely with administration? Why do large organizations need a department to deal solely with administration? Large
Large
organizations
organization
need a department
need a
to
department
deal
to
solely
deal
with
solely with
administration
administration
because they're
because
complex
they are
and
complex
difficult to
and
coordinate
difficult to coordinate
effectively.
effectively.
Greg, what do we mean if we describe somebody as clumsy? What do we mean if we describe somebody as
Somebody
clumsy?
as clumsy.
If we describe
If we describe
somebody as
somebody as
clumsy, we
clumsy,
mean that
we
they
mean that
often drop things.
sorry, we
uh,
mean that
They often drop
they
things
often drop
or
things
bump into
or
things,
bump into things
either because they're
either because
naturally
they are
uncoordinated
naturally
or
uncoordinated
because they're
or
careless.
because they are careless.
Very good. One more. If we
Okay.
describe
If we
somebody as
describe
clumsy,
somebody as
we
clumsy,
mean that
we
they
mean that
often
they
drop
often
things
drop
or
things
bump into
or bump
things,
into things
either because
either
they're
because
naturally
they are naturally
uncoordinated or
uncoordinated
because they are
or because
careless.
they are careless.
Very good. Do you think poor countries should receive more financial aid from affluent nations? Do you think poor countries should receive more financial aid from affluent nations? Yes or no?
Yes.
I think poor
I think
countries
poor
should
countries
receive more
should receive
financial
more
aid
financial
from
aid
affluent
from
nations.
affluent nations.
Very good. Okay, why do we sip hot drink rather than gulp it down? Why do we sip
Why do
hot
we
drink rather than gulp it down?
gulp it down?
We sip a hot
We sip
drink
hot
rather
drink
than gulp it
rather than
down
gulp it down
because
because their tongue might be burned.
that's right. Our tongue might be burned.
Sorry, our tongue might be burned.
Very good. Okay, is there a great variety in terms of size between different breeds of dogs? Is there a great variety in different size between different breeds of dogs? Yes, there
Yes,
is a great
there is a
variety
great
in
variety
terms of
in
size
terms of size
between different breeds
between
of
different
dogs.
breeds or
Of
different
dogs.
breeds of dogs.
Very good. One more. Yes, there is
Yes,
a great
there is a
variety
great
in
variety
terms of
in terms
size
of size
between different
between
breeds of
different
dogs.
breeds of dogs.
Very good. What do we mean by smuggling? What do we mean by smuggling? By smuggling,
By
we mean
smuggling, we
taking
mean
something
taking
into
something
or out of a
into or
country
out of a
illegally.
country illegally.
Is it considered a very serious offense to smuggle drugs such as heroin and cocaine into your country?
Into a
Is it
country.
considered a very serious offense to smuggle drugs such as heroin and cocaine into your country? Yes, it's
Yes,
considered
it's
a very
considered
serious
a very
offense
serious
to
offense
smuggle
to
drugs
smuggle
such
drugs
as heroin
such as
and
heroin
cocaine
and
into my
cocaine
country.
into my country.
Very good. What do we mean by a drug company? What do we mean by a drug
Drug
company?
company.
By a drug
By a
company,
drug
we
company,
mean a
we mean
company
a
that
company
produces
that
drugs
produces
for
drugs
use in
for
medical
use
treatment.
in medical treatment.
Very good. Give me a sentence with the word very in it, used with the meaning of exact or extreme.
Exact or
Give me
extreme.
a sentence with the word very in it, used
Very
with the meaning of exact or
exact
extreme.
or extreme.
You're the very person
You are the very
I'm
person
looking for.
I'm looking
The
for.
car was parked
The car was
at the
parked
very end
at the
of the
very
street.
end of the street.
Very good. What do we mean when we say that a man fought his enemies one by one?
Number
What do
one.
we mean when we say that a man fought his enemies one by one? When we say
When
that
we
a
say
man
that
fought
the
his
man fought
enemies
his
one by
enemies
one,
one by
we
one,
mean he
we
fought
mean
his
he
enemies
fought his
one
enemies
at a time,
one at a
not
time,
all together.
not all together.
Very good. Okay, now let me just scroll down.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Okay, where are articles normally published? Where are articles normally published?
Normally published.
Articles are normally
Articles are
published
normally
in a
published
magazine,
in a magazine,
newspaper, or journal,
newspaper, or
or
journal,
on a website,
or on a
such
website,
as a blog.
such as a blog.
Ragged, how can we decide whether to write an article in a formal, neutral, or informal style? How can we decide whether to write an article in a formal, neutral, or informal style? We can decide
We can
whether
decide
to write an
whether to
article
write an
in a
article
formal,
in a
neutral,
formal,
or informal
neutral, or
style
informal
by
style
thinking about
by thinking
where
about
it will be
where
published
it will be
and
published
who will read it.
and who will read it.
Ragged, why should we try to make an article interesting to read? Why should we try to make an article interesting to read? We should try
We
to
should
make an
try to
article
make an article
interesting to read
interesting to read
because the reader
because
has
the
no
reader has
obligation
no
to
obligation
keep reading.
to keep reading.
Ragged, what should we put at the start of an article? What should we put at the start of an
Start of
article?
an article.
At the start of
At the
an
start of
article,
an
we
article,
should put an
we should put
eye-catching
on an
title
eye-catching
and
title
an interesting
and an
first sentence.
interesting, interesting first
Or
sentence
introduction
or
paragraph.
introduction paragraph.
Very good. One more. At the start of
At
an
the start
article,
of an
we should
article,
put
we
an
should put
eye-catching
an
title
eye-catching title
and an
and
interesting
an
first
interesting
sentence
first
or
sentence
introduction
or
paragraph.
introduction paragraph.
Very good. Why is it a good idea to use the pronoun you where appropriate?
Where
Why is it a
appropriate,
good idea to use the pronoun you where
you
appropriate?
where appropriate.
It's a good idea
It's a good
to use
idea
the
to use
pronoun
the
you
pronoun you
where
where
appropriate
appropriate
because it helps
because
to
it
keep the
helps
reader
to keep the
interested.
reader interested.
Very good. If a barbecue fire gets out of control and sets some trees alight, which emergency service would you call? If a barbecue fire got out of control and set some trees alight, which emergency service would you call? If a barbecue
If a
fire
barbecue
got
fire
out of control
got out of
and set
control
some
and
trees
set
alight,
some trees
I'd
alight,
call the fire
I call
brigade.
the fire brigade.
Very good. Sometimes in a bus, we see a notice saying, please do not alight until the
Please
bus
do not alert
stops. What does it
stop.
mean?
What does it mean?
Sometimes in a bus, we see a
In a
notice
bus,
saying,
we see a
please do not
notice
alight
saying,
until the bus stops. What does that mean? A notice in a
a
bus
notice in a
that
bus
says,
that
please
says,
do not alight
please do not
until
alight
the bus stops
until the bus stops,
means please
means
do not get
please
off
do not get off
until the bus stops.
until the bus stops.
Very good. If one football player tackles another in a dangerous fashion, what happens? If one football player tackles another in a dangerous fashion, what happens? If one football
If one
player
football
tackles
player
another
tackles
in a
another
dangerous
in a
fashion,
dangerous
the
fashion,
player is
the player
reprimanded
is
or
reprimanded
punished.
or punished.
Very good. Have you ever been in a situation where you've been forced to resort to
Or
violence? Have you
violence.
ever been in a situation where you've been forced to resort to violence? Yes or no?
No,
I've never been
I've
in
never
a
been in
situation
a situation
where I've been
where
forced
I've been
to
forced
resort to
to
violence.
resort to violence.
Very good. Can you foresee a time in the future when governments might
When
resort to
government
banning
might
the
resort to
private use
banning
of
the private
cars
use of
in
cars
an effort to tackle
in
the
an effort
world's
to
climate
tackle the world
problems?
climate problems.
Can you foresee a time in the future when governments might resort to banning the private use of cars in an effort to tackle the world's climate problems? Yes or no?
No,
I can't foresee
I
a
can't
time
foresee a
in the
time
future
in the
when
future
governments
when
might
governments
resort to
might
banning
resort
the
to
private
banning the
use of
private
cars
use of
in
cars
an effort to
in an
tackle
effort to
the world's
tackle
climate
the world
problems.
climate problems.
Very good. Have you ever bid for anything successfully in an auction? Have you ever bid for anything successfully in an auction? Yes or no?
No,
I have never bid
I have
for
never
anything
been. Sorry,
successfully.
I have
No, I
never.
have never bid
Okay, no, I have never bid
for anything
for anything
successfully in
successfully
an auction.
in an auction.
Very good. What's the meaning of the word undo? What's the meaning of the word undo? The meaning of
The
the word
meaning of the
undo
word undo
is excessive.
is excessive.
Give me a sentence with the word unduly in it. Give me a sentence with the word unduly in it, please. I was not
I was
unduly
not
worried
unduly worried
about the fact that
about the
I
fact that
hadn't yet
I
received
hadn't get
an
received
answer to my
an
letter.
answer to my letter.
Very good. What does the verb hurdle mean? What does the verb hurdle mean? The verb
The
hurdle
verb
means
hurtle
to
means
move very
to
quickly
move very
in
quickly
an uncontrolled
in an
and
uncontrolled
usually
and
dangerous
usually
manner.
dangerous manner.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. The horse and cart
The horse and
came
cart
hurtling
came
round the
hurtling
corner
round
at
the
a
corner
frightening
at
pace.
a frightening pace.
Very good. Would you ever consider adopting a stray dog or a cat? Would you ever consider adopting a stray dog or a cat? Yes or no?
Stray dog or
Stray, like
cat?
stray dog, like homeless dogs and cats in the street.
Would you consider?
Adopting a stray dog or a cat, like bringing them home.
No.
I'd never consider
I never considered
adopting a stray
adopting
dog
a
or a
stray
cat.
dog or cat.
Very good. If you walk through a deep puddle, would your shoes get and socks get soggy? If you walk through a deep puddle, would your shoes and socks get soggy?
Get
Yes.
soggy?
If
Yes.
I walk through
If
a
I
deep
walk through
puddle,
a deep
my
puddle,
shoes and
my
socks
shoes and socks
would get soggy.
would get soggy.
Right? And what kind of noise would your shoes make? And what kind of noise would your shoes make? My shoes would
My
make
shoes would make
a squelching
a
noise.
scratching noise.
Very good. Are you easily startled by sudden loud noises? Are you easily startled by loud sudden noises? Yes or no?
No.
I'm not easily
I'm not
startled
easily
by
startled
sudden loud
by
noises.
sudden loud noises.
Very good. If you're absorbed in a book and someone behind you tap you on
Tap
on
on
the
one
shoulder,
shoulder.
would it give
On
you
the
a
shoulder.
start? If you're absorbed in a book and someone behind you tap you on the shoulder, would it
Tap
give
you
you a
on the
start?
shoulder.
Yes.
Yes.
If I were absorbed
If I
in
were
a book
observed in a book
and someone
and
behind me
someone
tapped
behind
me on the
me
shoulder,
tap me on the
it'd
shoulder,
give me a start.
it would give me a start.
Birgit, are you the kind of person who does things on impulse or do you tend to think things over first? Are you the kind of person who does things on impulse or do you tend to think things over first? Yes or no?
Yes,
I'm the kind of
I'm the
person
kind of person
who does things
who
on
does
impulse.
things on impulse.
I don't tend
I
to
don't
think
tend
things
to
over
think
first.
things over fast.
Very good. Okay, what does the word random mean? What does the word random mean?
Random means
The word
the word
random means
random means
without aim or
without
purpose
without aim or purpose
or without
or without
conscious selection.
conscious selections.
Very good. One more. The word
The
random
word
means
random means
without aim
without
or
aim
purpose
or
or
purpose
without
or without
conscious selection.
conscious selections.
Very good. Give me an example. Give me an example, please. During his show,
During his
the
show,
magician
the
got
magician
random
got
members
random
of the
members
audience to
of the
help him on
audience to
stage.
help him on stage.
Very good. Okay. Do you anticipate that your country's prosperity will rise in the next 10 years or so?
Yeah,
Or do you
also
anticipate that your country will become less prosperous? Do
less
you anticipate
prosperous.
that the country's prosperity will rise in the next 10 years or so? Or do you anticipate that your country will become less prosperous? I
Less prosperous.
anticipate that
I anticipate that
my
my
country's
country's
prosperity will
prosperity
rise
will
in the
rise
next 10
in the
years or
next
so.
10 years or so.
Very good. Okay, next. Why do football boots have studs on the bottom? Why do football boots have studs on the bottom? Football boots
Football
have
boots
studs
have
on the
studs
bottom
on the
to
bottom
ensure that
to ensure
they grip
that
the ground
they
well
grip the ground
and
well
prevent
and
players
prevent
from
players
slipping over.
from slipping over.
Very good. Have you ever dozed off while watching a film at the cinema? Have you ever
Have you
dozed
ever
off
dozed
while
off
watching a
while
film
watching
at
a
the
film at
cinema?
the
Yes
cinema?
or no?
Yes,
I have
I
sometimes
have
dozed
sometimes
off
dozed off
while watching a
while
film
watching a
at the
film
cinema.
at the cinema.
Very good. What's the opposite of doing something voluntarily? What's the opposite of doing something
Doing something
voluntarily?
voluntarily.
The
The
opposite of
opposite
doing
of doing
something
something
voluntarily is
voluntarily
against your
is
will. Is against your will.
is against your will.
Very good. One more. The opposite of
The
doing
opposite
something
of doing something
voluntarily
voluntarily
is against your
is
will.
against your will.
Right. Would you say you had a very strong will? Would you say you had a very strong will? Yes or no?
Yes,
I'd say
I'd
I
say
had a
I
very
had
strong
a
will.
very strong will.
Very good. What's the difference between the verb munch and nibble? What's the difference between the
What's
verb
the
munch and
munch
nibble?
and the nibble?
The difference
The
between
difference
the
between
verb
the
munch
verbs
and
munch and
nibble is
nibble
that
is that
when we munch
when
food,
we munch food,
we move our
we
jaws
move our
a
jaws
great deal,
a great
like
deal,
a cow
like a
eating
cow
grass.
eating grass.
Whereas when we nibble
Whereas when
food,
we nibble
we
food,
take tiny
we
bites,
take tiny
rather
bites,
like a mouse.
rather like a mouse.
Very good. Are there any industrial estates on the outskirts of your town?
On the town.
Are there any industrial estates in the outskirts of your town? Yes or no?
No,
There aren't
there
any
aren't
industrial
any
estates
industrial estates
on the
on
outskirts
the
of my
outskirts
town.
of my town.
Very good. Okay. When purchasing property in your country, do buyers usually use an estate agent rather than deal directly with vendors? When purchasing property in your country, do buyers usually use an estate agent rather than deal directly with vendors? Yes or no?
Yes,
When purchasing
when
property in
purchasing
my
properties
country,
in my country,
buyers usually
buyers
use an
usually
estate
use
agent
an estate agent
rather than deal
rather than
directly with vendors.
deal directly with vendors.
Very good. One more. Yes. When
Yes,
purchasing
when
property
purchasing
in my
properties
country,
in my country,
buyers usually
buyers
use
usually
an
use
estate
an
agent
estate
rather
agent
than deal
rather
directly
than deal
with
directly
vendors.
with vendors.
Very good. What does the phrase absent minded mean? What does the phrase absent minded mean? The phrase
The phrase
absent minded means
absent-minded means
forgetful.
forgetful.
Do elderly people tend to be rather absent minded? Do elderly people tend to be rather absent minded? Yes,
Yes,
elderly people
elderly
tend
people
to be rather
tend to be
absent
rather
minded.
absent-minded.
Do most teenagers regard their parents as narrow minded? Do most
Narrow-minded.
teenagers regard their parents as narrow minded?
Narrow-minded.
Yes,
Yes,
most
most
teenagers
teenagers
regard their
regard
parents
their parents
as narrow
as
minded.
narrow-minded.
Give me a sentence with the phrase like minded. Give me a sentence with the phrase like minded, please. Their marriage is
Their marriage
successful
is successful
mainly because
mainly
they're
because
extremely
they are
like minded.
extremely like-minded.
Very good. Do you prefer to eat bread and cheese in big hunks or slice into sandwiches?
Slice into
Do you
sandwiches.
prefer to eat bread and cheese in big hunks or slice into sandwiches? I prefer to
I
eat bread
prefer
and
to eat
cheese
bread and cheese, slice into
into
sandwich.
sandwiches. Okay, one more. I prefer
Okay.
to eat
I
bread
prefer to
and
eat
cheese
bread and cheese
sliced into
slice
sandwiches.
into sandwiches.
Very good. Okay, so now let me scroll down again.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Name me some edible flowers. Name me some edible flowers, please. Some edible
Some
flowers
edible
are
flowers
roses,
are roses,
sunflowers,
sunflowers,
basils, and clover.
basils, and clover.
Very good. What do we do with soap if it's blonde? What do we do with soup if it's blonde? We add some salt.
We add some
If soup
salt.
is bland,
If soup is bland,
where should we plant crops? Where should we plant crops? We should plant
we
crops
should plant
in
crops
fertile soil.
in fertile soil.
Is it easy to trust someone who looks sinister? Is it easy to trust someone who looks sinister? No, it
No,
isn't
it
easy
isn't
to
easy
trust someone
to trust
who
someone
looks sinister.
who looks
It's
sinister.
difficult.
It's difficult.
Does a person's face look happy when he hears a bad news?
That's a bad
Does a
news.
person's face look happy when he hears a bad news? No, a
No,
person's
a
face
person's face
doesn't look happy.
doesn't to
Oh,
doesn't look happy.
Homer? No, a person's
No,
face
a person's face
doesn't look happy
doesn't look
when
happy
he hears a
when
bad
he
news.
hears a bad
It
news.
looks grim.
It looks
Grim.
grim.
Very good. Are there any excellent restaurants? Okay, parallel to the house where you live. Are there any excellent
Excellent
restaurants
restaurant
parallel to the
parallel
house where you
to the
live?
house
Yes or
where
no?
we No,
There aren't
there
any
aren't
excellent
any
restaurants
excellent restaurant
parallel to the house
parallel to the house
where I live.
where I live.
Wait, if you do exercise regularly, does your body become
Body
flexible?
becomes flexible.
If you do exercise regularly, does your body become flexible? Yes. If
Yes,
you do
if you
exercise
do
regularly,
exercise
your
regularly,
body
y-
becomes
your
flexible.
body becomes flexible.
Very good. What has been the most sensational thing or event that you've heard or experienced recently? What has been the most sensational thing or event that you have heard or experienced recently? The most
The
sensational
most
thing
sensational
or
things
event that
or
I
event
heard or
that I heard
experienced
or
recently
experienced
has been
recently has been the opportunity
Mhm,
to go on a business trip to US.
very good. Name me an animal which is considered extinct. Name me an animal which is considered extinct. Dinosaur is an
Dinosaur
animal
is
which
an
is
animal
considered
which is
extinct.
considered extinct.
Very good. Do you prefer to travel or do something with companions, or do you prefer to be solitary? Do you prefer
Solitary.
to travel or do something with companions, or do you prefer to be solitary? I prefer,
I prefer to be solitary.
very good, or I prefer to travel
Sorry. I prefer to travel
and do something
and do something
solitarily.
solitarily.
Very good.
Something
The soft
solitarily.
lights and antique furniture create an elegant atmosphere. The soft lights and antique furniture create an elegant atmosphere. Yes, soft
Yes,
lights
soft
and
lights
antique
and
furniture
antique furniture
create an elegant
create an
atmosphere.
elegant atmosphere.
Right? Do we need to hurry if we have ample time to do anything? Do we need to hurry if we have ample time to do anything? No, we don't
No,
need to
we don't
hurry
need to
if we
hurry
have ample
if we
time
have ample
to
time
do
to
anything.
do
We
anything.
have to take our time.
We have to take our time.
Very good. Do governments in different countries in Europe have diplomatic relationship with one another? Do governments in different countries in Europe have diplomatic relationship with one another? Yes.
Yes,
Governments in different
governments in
countries in
different
Europe
countries in
have
Europe
diplomatic
have
relations
diplomatic
with
relations
one another.
with one another.
Right. Would you consider it bias if one judges a competition in which one of the players is his
One of the
best
players
friend?
is his best
Would you
friend.
consider it bias if one of the judges a competition, but we can't finish that anymore?
Ah,